And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the PWBA podcast. Awesome new project. Glad to definitely be a part of it. My name is Emil Williams Jr. Of course, I'm on the PWBA Tour often. You often hear me on Bowl TV, also doing some social, some communications. Joining me is my main man, Ron Smith. Aaron, a part of Bowl TV as well, and a lot of the same responsibilities that I have. First, Aaron, thank you for joining me. Ron, by the way, we'll get to our special guest in just 1 second.
Thank you, Emil. Glad to be here for the first edition of the podcast. So excited to talk to some great players and, of course, learn a lot of great things about our star athletes, and I'll let you take it away from there.
We'll have multiple episodes throughout, obviously, the rest of this year. And certainly right now, we've got an opportunity to talk with someone who is not only a PWBA champion, but in the midst of what's happening in our world today, she is on the front lines, and that is Erin McCarthy. Erin, a registered nurse at 2 hospitals, Nebraska Medicine and Nebraska Methodist. So, Erin, welcome to the PWBA podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Erin, I'm going to get right into it, and I'll probably distinguish Ron and Erin throughout our conversation just so no one gets confused. So, Erin, obviously, coronavirus, COVID-19 has put everything just about on hold, including what we do, all of us, essentially. The PWBA Tour currently postponed. Obviously, you're a competitor. We're on staff. Your job as a registered nurse, talk about the experience so far. What have you seen being on the front lines, and some of the recommendations that you have for, obviously everyone listening, watching, and what they should be doing and how we can play our roles and moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one word to describe this entire situation is chaotic. A lot of the different words used, indefinite, unknown, just because it seems like it's changing every single day with what the CDC is recommending, with what we're supposed to be doing, not doing, that sort of thing. The best advice I have for people, which is hard for most to follow, is to literally stay at home and social distance yourself. It doesn't mean have friends and family over. It literally means stay at home, stay outside in your driveway, your backyard, whatever you have to do. Every time you go to the store, supermarket to get your essentials or non-essentials, you're technically endangering other people and yourself. Indefinitely, a lot of us will probably get COVID. It's just trying to slow the spread of it throughout the United States and throughout the various countries. The hospitals just can't keep up with how many people are coming in. To be blunt about it, most hospitals aren't allowing visitors. So, if you have a wife, husband, kid, brother, sister, mom, dad, child in the hospital, they have to be alone during their entire stay. Whether they make it out of that stay or, they could die alone. No one wants to die alone. It's not something that anyone should ever have to consider. So, that's to be blunt about it. That's what's happening in the world right now. And I think people need to realize that.
Absolutely. And your life specifically and your role within the staff as a nurse, how have you been able to assist, help, kind of what's a daily or a day in the life, if you will, in this situation for Erin McCarthy?
I can't go into a ton of detail just because of HIPAA stuff, but at both hospitals that I work at, I work on designated COVID units. So we take COVID positive and when we're ruling someone out for COVID. It's a little eerie because, like I said, there's no visitors allowed. I'm a nurse at both places, but I'm also a staff development nurse at one of the hospitals, which is basically an educator for the unit. Normally we're educating new staff members, but in this case, we're educating people on the daily, possibly hour changes that we're getting for COVID policies and procedures. It's just not, I don't know that I'm necessarily working more hours. I'm putting a little bit of extra time, but it's just stressful the time that you're there. It's draining. You don't know, you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to protect your coworkers, your family. It's just mentally exhausting at the end of the day.
Erin, I think that was a great point that you brought up as far as kind of, being on hand and helping, that you guys get, hour to hour updates and new information about this probably before anyone else does. And, the way we've received the information, through the news, through social media, has just been pretty hectic. So I could imagine even more so, as you talk about, just the stress of that has to be just, pretty burdensome, just to kind of get this new news, get all the new updates, just like that.
Yeah, it definitely has been fun. When I'm not at work, it seems like we have these weekly debriefing meetings to just talk about everything that's been going on in the hospital, on the floor, get some of our feelings and emotions out, but also talk about the new protocols that are in place. Unfortunately, the media likes to portray everything and anything that it possibly can, and normally in the worst way possible. So if you don't have that medical knowledge, it can turn into mass panic, essentially, which leads to buying things that you don't necessarily need, like toilet paper. I don't think we're going to run out of toilet paper, but a lot of people think that we might. It's just forever changing. We don't know quite enough about this virus, which is the scariest part. So I think people just need to try to stay as calm as possible. Find your support system, use Zoom, use phone calls, text messages, FaceTime. But it's going to take time for everything to blow over, unfortunately.
And that was a message you had put out on social media fairly quickly into the process. I think that was, when you kind of look at the chaos of a few weeks ago, since you used that word, I think March 11th was kind of the big tipping point day for a lot of folks. That was when the NBA season essentially postponed. The next day was kind of when the USBC things started to roll in with collegiate sectionals and some of the postponements for the Open and Women's Championships. And you had a pretty specific message on social media for folks. Just kind of, what was the reaction from folks from your message on social media, and talk a little bit about it too?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was trying to be blunt. Some people might have thought I was coming off rude, but I just wanted to make a valid point. A lot of people were comparing this to the flu and saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Thousands die from the flu, millions die from the flu. But the fact that this is such an unknown virus and it's spreading so quickly and so rapidly, it's important that we take drastic measures. Canceling or postponing the NBA season, postponing the PWBA season, putting all sports and large group activities on hold. Some people might not find it necessary. Some people are like, well, I'm healthy, I'm not going to get it. It's not necessarily about those people. It's about the populations that are vulnerable. And now we're finding out that healthy humans like myself, younger people, are getting this virus, and there's no treatment for it. There's no prevention for it. You may come out just fine, or you may find yourself in the hospital alone, figuring out, what's going on, what's the next day going to bring. I think people just need to be more self-aware and a little bit less selfish, and just take time. I mean, I'd rather spend a month or two at home than spending the next year at home. Seeing the Facebook groups about, oh, leagues canceled, this sucks, I just want to get back on the lanes. I think it's safe to say that we all do, but it's just not safe right now. We just need to be selfless in this situation.
Yeah, I think, for me, I'm an avid NBA watcher, and I was watching basketball the night that essentially the season was suspended. And that's when it kind of really set in, like, okay, this is not anything that may have been seen before, to the severity that, national leagues across the country are canceling or at least postponing at this moment the rest of their seasons. That's kind of when, I said, okay, well, we've got to start paying attention. And of course, we all, in some way, shape, or fashion would be affected after that. We had Erin and I and everyone else on our team had an extremely busy March, pre-COVID. We were supposed to be at sectionals. We had 4 sectionals across the country to go cover collegiately, the Masters, collegiate club championships, and obviously now we are, in our own homes and getting a chance to talk with you, with some informed information. I feel like you were simply trying to make sure that you informed with the right message based on your own knowledge, and obviously from someone who works in this field on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was trying to do. I would say a mixture of my friends. I obviously have healthcare workers that are on the front lines with me. I have bowlers that are, completely different field, and they see what the media is portraying, which sometimes can kind of be not necessarily false, but just an exaggerated truth, which can cause panic. I just want people to be informed. I want them to be educated and have the right tools and knowledge on what they should or shouldn't be doing.
You mentioned hours previously, and the amount of hours that you currently work. So I am curious how it compares, because I feel like that you were busy already prior to when we'd have conversations on tour. You already had a busy week. Now, how is that different, and how many more hours have you worked now with COVID?
Yeah, prior, I would work 2 to 3 shifts, depending on what my travel schedule would be for the tour and other tournaments. Now, I'd say I'm working the same amount of floor shifts, caring for patients directly. It's still 2 to 3 shifts a week. But with the staff development nurse, where I have to go in and do different education topics and keep up with things and mask fit people to make sure that they have the right N95 masks, it's just been various hours. So I think over the past 8 days, I've been at the hospital 7 of those days, not necessarily for 12-hour shifts, sometimes for just 3 to 4 hours, sometimes for 12 to 13 hours. But at the end of the day, it's kind of exhausting. You don't want to have to think about when was my last day home from the hospital. That's a little bit scary to think about, but I'm not the only one. Everyone is putting in countless hours. There's retired nurses that are coming out of retirement to help. There's people that are traveling to the cities that need it. I think just earlier today, they posted a picture or a selfie of a group of people on a flight heading to New York just to help out. So it's everywhere right now.
Well, Erin, obviously a big thank you to you, all your coworkers, all the folks across the country who are on the front lines battling this crazy situation that we have. And talking a little bit about, Emil mentioned the hours. Obviously, to get to this point, a lot of hours, a lot of schooling, a lot of work in the class to get to this point. And we were talking a little bit before this that you had a pretty interesting collegiate experience kind of to work through all this. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so I obviously started at Nebraska, bowling for Coach Straub for my first year in freshman college. I decided after that it just wasn't the right fit for me, so I wanted to transfer. I had looked at a few different colleges, but randomly, one of the bowlers that I knew here in Omaha, he was the coach of UNO. He was going to start a bowling program at Dana College, which was in Blair, Nebraska. Basically, myself and then some of the other players from his UNO team were going to transfer to Dana during our, I guess it'd be sophomore, junior years. And I remember bowling league. It was the PWBA Experience League in the middle of summer. It was a Wednesday evening. And I was bowling with probably 5 or 6 of what my would-be teammates at the time. And JJ Masney, who was going to be the coach, was also in that league. I remember looking up at the TV, and it was kind of breaking news for the Metro. Dana had just up and closed with no warning. No one knew that it was coming. So we're bowling league in July. The season, we're supposed to go to school the next month, and we look up at the TVs, and the school that we're supposed to go to is no longer. They didn't really give a reason at the time. I just remember we were kind of all looking at each other like, what now? We had left everything that we had once known. Even JJ didn't know about it. So it was kind of I don't know, it's like, is this real? Is this really happening? You're trying to transfer and make things better for yourself, and then it just doesn't work out. It ended up working out in our favor. I think Ben Sass, who was the dean of Midland College at the time, was very helpful. He kind of took everyone in from Dana that wanted to transfer and made it happen. So in the end, it worked out, but I would say it was a scary 24 to 48 hours not knowing where am I going to school next month when you're right in the middle of a major. So, and then the sporting combined with it, it was kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, that is, that's interesting. Something that, I read that recently and I was like, wait, we got to ask Erin about this because, I really couldn't imagine what that would certainly be like. And when you're ready to go somewhere, you've already made all of the preparations, this is ingrained essentially. And then all of a sudden, kind of poof in a sense, and almost literally like a poof, for you guys, it's out of there.
Yeah. And we had our class schedules, practice schedules, everything was set up, and then it was just gone within a second.
So how did I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just trying to fathom all that. That's wacky.
So from the nursing perspective, did you make it I guess, when did you know you wanted to be a nurse? When was that the idea and you wanted to pursue that via school, of course?
I think I always knew that I wanted to be in the medical field, which is why I chose to major in biology. But for a while, I didn't know if I wanted to go more the doctor route or the nursing route. And then I realized that I wanted a little bit more patient interaction, so that's what led me to the nursing route. But I still wanted to get my biology degree. I could have done nursing for my quote undergrad, my first 4 years, but I chose not to. So I spent 4 years and got my biology degree and decided to do an accelerated nursing program at Creighton University. It was the best, worst 12 months of my life. I actually don't think I touched a bowling ball during the entire school year just because I couldn't figure out time management. But I think I definitely made the right decision after the past couple of years on tour and working in the hospitals that I do. That's what kind of led me there. I just wanted more patient interaction.
One quick follow-up. If you were to, there'll be some young girls, hopefully watching, listening to this podcast and may be thinking about a career in nursing. What advice would you give to those who may be thinking about it, and maybe how to go about pursuing that?
Yeah, I think one of the most difficult things for bowlers is that, the bowling schedule is demanding in itself. You throw in a career on top of that that's outside of the bowling world, and it's even more demanding. It's hard to find the time. And with nursing, you're required to do clinical hours. You can't miss clinicals. You can't miss classes like you might be able to with some other majors. I think it's important to think about, you can put bowling on hold for a year or two, and it'll be there when you're done. And if you choose a nursing route, you'll have a career that allows you flexibility to do what you love. So for me, I get to have a career at home, nursing that I love, and then I get to be on the road bowling. If I didn't give up that year or two of not bowling, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I think it's important to look in the grand scheme of things, 1 to 2 years given up when you're 22, 23 is a lot better than trying to finagle your week or two of vacation that you could have with another career. So I think you just have to really weigh the pros and cons of it all.
Yeah, sacrifice. But obviously sounds, everything that's happened has been for the better, and our PWBA Tour champion, and giving back to the world as a registered nurse as well. So that's all pretty awesome. Let's get back into the bowling part of it a little bit. Obviously you mentioned your schedule, 7 out of the last eight days at the hospital. But, how much were you practicing prior to kind of the shutdown? And just have you had any drills, anything at home that you've been kind of doing, just trying to stay bowling sharp as much as you can now that we're all kind of, on a lockdown?
Yes. Yeah, so, prior to the shutdown of everything, I was going and practicing probably at least every other day. I was trying to get to know some new equipment since there was some changes with that. And the tour was right around the corner, so I was actually trying to prepare quite a bit for that. Obviously difficult in general, balancing the nursing and practice schedule, but it was maintaining okay. I won't lie, since the shutdown and since taking up hours at the hospital, I haven't thought a lot about bowling, probably as much as I should have. I do find myself reading mental books. I try to do that in general, but more so now because that's one of my weaknesses when it comes to bowling. So that's what I've been doing at home. I know on Facebook, I see people setting up pillows, towels, anything like that to do release drills. That's pretty easy to do at home. You can even, if you have a lower bed, you can set the bowling ball on the bed and just practice release drills. I think Andrew Anderson actually posted a video on that. As far as what I'm doing, I could probably be doing a little bit more, but it just seems like on my off time, all I want to do is sit down. I don't want to do anything else or think about anything else. That's probably bad of me to say. I'll pick it back up when I need to, but right now my focus is helping patients and at the hospital. It's where it should be.
Certainly think that's understandable. Yeah, obviously with everything that you have going on, everything that you're involved in, and I think it's probably safe to say the world and the country needs you kind of where you are at this moment in time. And we thank you for all of the work that you have and will continue to do. I know you mentioned you probably just want to go sit down. So I imagine perhaps, exercise, fitness may or may not be in the routine at the moment. But, if you have anything that you are doing at home, is there anything? And, what might you normally be doing from a fitness perspective if everything was, in place, if you will?
So actually, I guess I would consider work kind of a fitness perspective with the amount of steps
Good
I
point.
take in, boosting and turning patients. That's one aspect. Now that the weather's getting nicer, my little 8-pound dog likes to take me for walks. Actually, he only has one speed, and that's fast. He doesn't know how to walk. So we've been going on daily walks and that type of stuff. In my current living situation, I live with my girlfriend and her 2 kids, and she's also a nurse. So trying to balance our schedules has been quite tricky, but she's pretty active with running. They have their bikes and whatnot. So just trying to stay active outside, away from people, of course, just with ourselves, but doing what I can.
In talking about, prior to the start of all of this, you mentioned the transition of kind of bringing in a few different bowling balls into the arsenal. Obviously, the big purchase of Ebonite by Brunswick, kind of getting to add all those brands in. What was that kind of like for you as, just as a player on the Hammer staff, kind of all these brand new toys to kind of mess around with and just, different ball reactions, different shapes that had to be, going from 4 brands to 7 had to be pretty crazy just to see all that. Just kind of what was that whole situation like for you? Just kind of getting to see all that new stuff.
Yeah, that was just shocking. It was another one of the chaos type experiences. I guess that's the common theme over the past couple of months. I don't really know what to expect, but I'm a firm believer in trying to keep an open mind and just seeing what happens. So, we started receiving the bowling balls and I kind of drilled them slowly just to get to know them. I didn't know what to expect, but I will say I was pleasantly surprised. Brunswick is doing some really good things with their products, and 7 brands is a little overwhelming, but I think, it's just going to take time to figure out what fits where and what do you like, what do you don't like, that type of thing. But, I think overall it's been a pretty smooth transition. They've done everything that they could possibly do to help us out with moving from Ebonite to Brunswick and keeping our brands and just maintaining communication with us, which is a huge thing. So far so good, but obviously more time to tell since can't really get out and throw anything right now.
Just out of curiosity, because we get this type of question all the time for, on Bowl TV doing a PWBA live stream, for example. I'm curious, what types of layouts and shapes, or what ball motion would you prefer to see when you are competing on the lanes? That's something that people ask us a lot about, and especially I think for you, because you like to play them a little left to right, and people recognize that and they see that and they go, well, what is Erin like? Like, what's her favorite layouts and different things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty basic when it comes to layouts, pin up, pin down. I don't try to do anything too crazy, but I like more symmetrical bowling balls. They're just smoother rolling overall. They're more predictable. There's not a lot of angle down lane. I create too much angle as it is most times with my rev rate and my turtle-ish ball speed, so I don't need any help with that. I try to stay away from those types of bowling balls. I think most people on both tours, men's and women's, would agree that smoother is better, more controllable is better. Whether that's playing left to right or down and in, straighter is greater, so to speak. So the more controlled reaction, the better.
And speaking of the tour, you won your first PWBA title in 2018, the Louisville Open. And I think I say we as the general bowling population, have seen you prior to, and just kind of waiting and knowing that moment certainly was going to happen for you, just obviously a matter of when it was going to happen. So take us back to that particular week, that weekend, what the feeling was like throughout potentially, and if you knew or felt something ahead of time, like, hey, this could be a good week, and obviously ultimately holding the trophy at the end of the event.
Yeah, so oddly enough, I distinctly remember the practice session during that event. Sean Ryan was trying to help me out because I was just throwing the ball atrocious. Basically, I needed a rope to keep my shoulders back because I was falling over my heels or toes, whichever you prefer. But I just remember that week in particular being effortless. I wasn't really thinking about anything from start to finish. I had a really good qualifying block. And then I went home, went back to the hotel, slept, came back in the next day. And normally, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm this many pins back, I'm this many spots back. And that entire weekend, I just didn't think about that. I would say that I get in my own way 70 to 80% of the time. That might be generous, it might be even more. And that weekend, I just stayed out of my own way. I tried to maintain confidence. Again, something that I struggle with. So that's why I read the books to help myself out with that. I just didn't feel anything that weekend. I didn't think, I didn't overthink. I just got up there, threw the ball, and that was that. And I didn't let my bad shots get to me, which I think was something different than all the previous stops. I think it proved to me that I could just go out there and do my own game, compete, and I deserve to be there. So
I'll be honest that since I wasn't there for that particular event in 2018, I actually, before our call here, I went back and watched the replay of that just to make sure I was good on my notes. And you definitely didn't make too many bad shots. You're obviously front seven out of the gates. Maria had opened the ninth frame with a washout, and you stepped up there in the ninth and the 10th, basically getting the opportunity to kind of have a victory lap. You just needed a few pins to kind of lock her out. Just what was that moment like, knowing that, you know, I'm stepping up here. This is my moment. This is my title. This is happening.
Yeah. Almost surreal. It was like a huge weight lifted off my shoulder because I knew that I could win. I knew that I had the ability to do it. I just wasn't doing it. I wasn't following through with anything. So the fact that I was able to secure the title, it meant the world to me. I didn't even know what to think. It almost felt not real at the time. I don't think it sank in for several weeks later that I had actually won a title. I remember starting out that title match. I think Maria and I both either had the front three or the front four. And at one split second, I said, oh, here we go again. Like, I'm going to have to shoot another 250 or 260 to win is what it felt like. And I remember erasing that thought almost immediately. It's normally thoughts like that just get in my way. And then I just pretty much collapse after that. But not this time.
And then I know the added bonus, if you will, was Josie, which, you know, great friend, your best friend, then presented the trophy to you and gave you the post game interview. Could you have imagined all of those things the way they played out? You know, kind of all coming together in that order and the way it happened.
No, never in a million years. Normally, my parents have been there for it. You know, unintentionally, they've been there for a lot of my best bowling moments. They were not there for that one. But just the fact that my best friend just happened to be the announcer for that and got to present me with the trophy, I couldn't have asked for a better way to win my first title. It's definitely something that I'll never, ever forget.
Indeed.
Now, with that particular title, you know, as we talked about, kind of had the opportunity to kind of enjoy the moment, had wrapped it up throughout your great performance. 259, I believe, the final score in that victory as well. So you shot 250 anyway, so you're going to be safe no matter what. But on the converse side, let's talk about a pressure situation, hypothetical. If you had to make a single pin to win a title, what single pin would it be and why? Or spare combo? What would you have the most confidence in to kind of secure a title? Which one wouldn't you want to see in that situation?
I think I would prefer a 3-pin. I like to go left to right as it is, even though I do shoot my spares with a plastic ball. So I think I would have the most confidence in that. It's sort of in the middle of the lane. It's not too far off. Should be able to make it most times. I have to avoid the 2-pin because that's Jordan Richard. That's her least favorite spare to shoot, and we always make fun of her. I would not want to shoot the 2-pin and eat my own words. That's why I have to avoid that one. Plus, it's going a little straighter. I don't like doing that. Left to right is better for me. So I don't think I'd want to shoot at any of the corner pins either. I don't want the ball return to get in my way or something like that. Some lame excuse. So the 3-pin's a solid choice for me.
I like that. It's right there. Nice. So almost right in the middle. So I feel we need is there a little bit more to this 2-pin story then?
Jordan just has a phobia of the 2-pin. I think if you asked anyone on tour that has talked to her, she will tell them that she has a fear of the 2-pin. I would say that it's her, I don't know if it's her most commonly missed spare, but it might be. I'd have to maybe run the stats on it. And she's probably going to hate me for saying this on video, but that's okay. The world needs to know.
It's okay. We're going to give her a chance to defend herself at some point on this podcast and ask her the same questions. I got to ask Ron, though, as well. What single pin would you want to shoot at and or least? Kind of same questions. I'm curious.
I feel right now I'd be terrified to shoot at a 10-pin, mostly because I haven't made one in a while. And not because I'm not bowling, just in general, I haven't made one in a while. But I feel with my lower rev rate, you know, I tend to, you know, my light pocket hits don't swish and carry and do cool things like Aaron's does. I leave 4.5s instead. So I'm pretty comfortable in that area. So, you know, you give me one of those two, I'm all over it. No problem. Wouldn't even think twice about it.
That's good.
The 4.5s up there, you know, that's a little trickier, but hopefully just avoid that all together. So
right, that's interesting. I'd give you the 4. I don't know for myself. I'd have to think. I'd probably be in the same boat from the 10-pin perspective. It's been quite some time. The last competitive bowling I did, I recall missing a lot of them, so that really wouldn't be good at the moment. I don't even, in a weird way, probably something on the left side of the lane probably would be good, and I don't know why that would be. I probably wouldn't want to shoot from a combo perspective at 3-6-10. And then Aaron, I would ask you, not Aaron, but Aaron, spare combo. If you had to leave a combination to make, almost Norm Duke-esque to win a U.S. Open, for example, what combo would you want to see on the links?
It's gonna sound weird, but probably a 6-10. I thought about 3-6 just because I said the 3-pin, but I'm notorious for chopping the 3-pin off, so I don't want that spare. No, probably the 6-10. I throw my ball pretty end over end, so I don't tend to knock on wood because I don't want that to jinx my season. I don't tend to chop that one or pick the 10 off too often.
That works. I like that. We'll move away from bowling just for a moment, but I'm curious, what might be kind of your favorite non-bowling memories? They could be sports related, they could be work related, obviously, but what stands out? What are some of the memories that you can recall throughout life to this moment that have been very special to you?
If I were to do a throwback memory, before bowling took over my life, my family, so myself, my parents, and my grandparents and aunts and uncles, we would take a trip to Lake of the Woods every year. We would go up to Canada, stay on an island, no electronics, no nothing for a straight week. And then we'd come back and be fishing, boating, tubing, water skiing, all the things that I used to do before bowling took over my life. We used to actually go over the junior gold week. So that's something that I used to do completely non-bowling related. I would say since bowling has taken over my life, trip to Barcelona for Kyle and Josie's wedding was probably my, hands down, one of my favorite memories. On top of that, I got to do one of my bucket list items, which was see a soccer game. I got to see Leo Messi play in Barcelona. So that was definitely top 5 memories for sure.
I feel that you've mentioned soccer to us in a couple of instances just over the years. I feel that Mia Hamm has been one of your favorite players or athletes. Has soccer played a big role in your life at prior to bowling?
Yeah, it was actually the very first sport that I played. My parents signed me up for the little toddler league when I was 2 or 3, I think. And I continued playing up through part of high school. And that's when I had to kind of decide, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to not do? And that's when I decided bowling was what I was going to do. So I kind of put everything else on the back burner. If I had to choose one other sport that I was going to play besides bowling, it would definitely be soccer. Made a lot of friends through there. And then some of my coworkers play in an indoor league. So that's kind of fun as well.
What position did you play?
Anywhere from midfielder to any of the forwards.
Okay.
I grasped the concept of offsides when I was younger, so I definitely always wanted to be towards the front.
That's funny.
Now, in the obviously in the current situation, not a lot of things we can do. As you mentioned, it's important for everyone now to stay home, stay safe. But outside of bowling, what is the one thing you are really, really, really looking forward to getting back to? Kind of once all this blows over and we're in a different spot in the world, just what's that one thing? If it's a restaurant, is an activity, what's that one thing you're just kind of been itching to do for a couple of weeks, where it's been you'll be excited when it's time again?
Yeah, honestly, just going to a restaurant, sitting down, having a meal and a beverage. That's all I'd like to do. I think before I couldn't wait for home cooked meals to eat at home, and now we're going on week 3 and I'm a little sick of it. I just want to get out and go have something to eat at a restaurant with friends or family and just enjoy some time there. So definitely something that I think most of us take for granted and probably won't after this entire situation is done.
I will echo that sentiment. I was with kind of a similar on the road travel, was never kept a lot of food at the house. Always kept a pretty extensive restaurant list that I would like to go to. So yeah, this is that's been one thing I've been missing too. Just the ability to go out, go to a different place, get a nice meal, get a drink with it, just kind of sit back and relax. And yeah, I'm in that same boat.
Yeah.
What about favorite restaurant or restaurants, Erin?
Favorite restaurant. I think favorite chain restaurant would probably be something like Texas Roadhouse. I'm a sucker for their rolls and their butter. But anywhere I can get a good pizookie, chocolate chip cookie with some ice cream on top, I'm sold. It's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, I heard that you enjoy some sweets, so that might put you in a good mood. Your best friend told me that just before we started this. So I've heard about the chocolate chip cookie skillet, right? That might be something high on your list too.
Yep, that's correct.
Oh,
Josie and I typically split one of those when we go out to eat. And I think it's funny when they bring multiple spoons, we just set it aside. There's only 2 spoons needed. One for me, one for Josie. That's it. You can order your own if you'd like your own, but you're not eating off of our plate, essentially.
I want to stay on Josie just for a moment, just because I feel that we all have kind of that one person or persons who kind of know us, know what we need when we need it. Just talk briefly about the relationship that you have created and developed with Josie, and just how much she has meant to you, up until this point in life.
Yeah, so we had kind of known each other. Obviously, we've crossed paths with youth bowling, the Greater Iowa Scholarship Tour, and then junior gold and college even, but we really didn't talk until after college. And I'll never forget it because we were bowling a doubles tournament in Baltimore. Her partner was Rob Gottschall, and I was bowling with Zeke Bate. And there was a large group of us that wanted to go to Buffalo Wild Wings. I didn't have a car at the time, and I think Rob had a car. No one wanted to leave the bowl yet, so Rob told Josie and I to basically hop in the car together and go get a table. Well, I had never spoken to Josie. Josie had never really spoken to me. We got lost on the way there. Josie was driving, not me. I'm very good with directions. Josie was a little directionally challenged. We ended up in some neighborhood in someone's driveway, I think, and we just laughed nonstop about it over the dumbest things. And it was kind of history after that. I think Rob was actually kicking himself because we can be kind of annoying when we're together. I'm not going to lie about that. But I think we just had a good connection as far as friendship goes from the get-go. We can talk to each other about anything and everything, but we don't have to talk on a consistent basis to know that, I'm there for her, she's there for me type thing. So I think that's what makes it the most special. She's been checking in on me periodically, which means a lot to me. And we just have a good time when we're together. Never a dull moment, essentially.
That's what's up.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the, and Emil, unfortunately, you missed that week because you were having very cool things happen in your life. But in Louisville this past year, we had the surprise baby shower for Josie as well, which was definitely one of the most touching moments we had on tour all season. Having all the players together to celebrate Josie was just a very awesome, very, very cool moment as well. Erin, what were your takeaways just from that in general, getting to be a part of that, and kind of what were the talks like between everyone trying to organize that?
Yeah, I mean, that was special. I don't think anything's been done like that before. Josie's a very well-liked person on tour. She's super friendly. I think there was, I don't know how many different group text messages were going on. That was also during a difficult time during Josie's life. Her mom had just passed away just a few weeks prior. So we weren't even sure if Josie was going to make it. So we were trying to basically talk to Kyle on the side and saying, you really need to be here. We're throwing this surprise baby shower for Josie. I think it was just an awesome event to happen at the right moment. It was kind of an upwards event after a downwards event. And that's kind of the best way that I can describe it. But just seeing her face when we were all there to surprise her and the gifts that we had for Lisa Ruth, it's something that we probably won't forget for a while. Just a special moment. There's not really any other way to describe it.
I agree. It's although I missed it, I did see a little bit of it on the show. They took some of that footage and aired it on that week's CBS Sports Network TV show. Hated I missed it because I was hoping to throw in my 2 cents because I had just went through that like a few weeks prior to. I want to switch gears briefly, and we're going to talk some TV, by the way, if you have time. Aaron. But from a tour perspective, and let's just assume, and we certainly are praying that we'll get a chance to watch you and every player back on the lanes, certainly because you guys deserve that. Some of the goals, and I'm not sure if you had already thought about, the goals prior to, the world getting to the situation that we are in, but, what were you looking forward to in 2020 on the PWBA Tour? And, at this point, what are you still looking forward to? Maybe some goals, if you care to share, if you can, and, what we're looking at for this year's PWBA Tour season.
Yeah. So, I mean, comparing 2018 to 2019, it was a bit of a disappointment. I think I was just, mediocre, consistent last season. So coming off of the 2018 high and having that, that wasn't exactly acceptable to me. So I think for 2020, some of my goals were to just put myself in position to make TV shows. If I put myself in position, then I could do the rest from there. But I really want to win a US Open title. I've put myself on the TV show a couple of times, and I think that's my ultimate goal in life, is to win a US Open title. I think, hopefully I get the chance to do that. I don't know. Fingers crossed, though.
Well, you've been there before, obviously, as you just said. Albeit in, probably the roughest from a physical perspective and the circumstances, injury related. How are you feeling physically? Are you good from the injury perspective, and anything you've been doing to kind of make sure that you don't have to go through certain things like that again?
Yeah, physically, I've been good. I think since I've repaired my last injury, so to speak. Knock on wood, I haven't had anything happen since then. I think some of the precautions that I do, like I can feel my back starting to hurt every now and again, and I'll just take it easy. I just won't go to the lanes that day, or I'll take it easy at work. I don't push myself quite as much. I know in the past when I feel some strain coming on, I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'll push through it. I can't do that anymore, or I won't do that anymore. I don't want to go through the same experience that I had on that US Open TV show. I was fairly miserable.
Hey, Aaron.
Emil?
I think you've got a cool TV perspective type question, perhaps to end things here with Aaron. I feel that this is your question from here on out.
This is my question. All right. I'm very excited about this one, though. This is up there. So what is the Erin McCarthy binge-watch recommendation?
That's a tough one. There's a couple of shows that I watch religiously, and I'll catch up on it. But I would say I've got a couple: Blacklist, A Million Little Things, Prodigal Son, and then there's a newer one called You that's on Netflix. I think there's only 2 seasons. I think those have been the ones that I've been watching a lot. And New Amsterdam, you can throw that one on there too. That would be top 5. I think that was 5. Yeah.
It's a solid list. I like it.
It was. I thought you might hit us with 2, maybe 3. And I'm like, oh, okay. I need to make sure I go back and listen to the playback so I can write down and watch all these shows.
I don't always keep up with them, but I'll binge when I can and catch up when I can. But those are definitely my favorite shows at the moment.
Any on the list? Oh, sorry, Emil. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're going to ask the same question. I know it.
Is there something that maybe you haven't started yet that you've been kind of wanting to start diving into?
Yeah, I think Ozark. I've seen other people post about that, and I hadn't heard of it, but I like Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman's the main character, so I think I'll check that one out next.
I've heard a lot of good things about Ozark. I haven't seen that one personally, but I've also heard a lot of good things. So we'll have to catch up on those together.
Twitter has been a buzz about Ozark. Have you gotten into the Tiger King? I feel is just taking over the world of streaming at the moment. Have you gotten into that?
Not yet. I see the memes on Facebook. I don't know if I should venture down that road, not venture down that road. I probably will. I mean, let's face it, we're going to be at home for the next month or 2. I'll give it a go.
That is fair. Ron, any final thoughts?
No, I think that was a great way to kick off our podcasting careers, basically. So, Aaron, I should say, we just want to thank you for your time, of course, and the opportunity to kind of let us a little bit more into your world with everything going on. So for me, just thank you for everything.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
And Erin, I will ask one final question, almost just to reiterate what we talked about at the beginning. Just for everyone, who is listening or watching, and just kind of reiterate what we should be doing to help, everyone get past this situation quicker. From a social distancing perspective to hand washing, what things should people be doing and focusing in on?
I mean, I think the number one thing is to be patient. That sounds like the hardest thing to do right now, but patience is going to be everything. We're going to be stuck like this for a while. You should stay at home. Don't go to the store. You don't need paint to redo your bedroom. And now you want it because you have downtime, but you don't need it. As hard as this is, stay away from your family members, unless you live with them, of course. But social distancing literally means to stay at home and stay away from people. It doesn't mean have a group of people over and stay 6 feet apart. It means to actually isolate yourself, as difficult as that is. But in the grand scheme of things, do you want to be bored at home, or do you want to watch a loved one in the hospital be alone and possibly die alone? I think it's literally that simple. We had every warning to try and get ahead of this, and unfortunately we didn't. So now we're paying the consequences, and it's gonna last longer than what people think it is. But I think patience will be key.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly from obviously a registered nurse, a medical professional, Erin McCarthy. Definitely want to thank you for joining us on the PWBA podcast. I guess you're part of now a trivia question. Who was the first official guest in the PWBA podcast? And the answer, of course, now is Erin McCarthy. So, Erin, thank you again.
Thanks, Emil.
And I just want to reiterate, folks, what Erin just mentioned. And if you follow the PWBA on social media, a lot of the players obviously echoing what Erin has just talked about. The better we do our jobs, the faster and sooner that Erin and her counterparts can hit the lanes. And you'll get a chance to watch them, of course, on Bowl TV and CBS Sports Network if all goes to plan. So for Erin Smith, Erin McCarthy, my name is Emil Williams Jr. This has been episode 1. Episode 2 is on the way soon. We will have Liz Colkin will join us, and we'll talk about what's going on with her. She's got an interesting situation also involving COVID-19. And of course, we'll talk bowling with Liz and her U.S. Women's Open title. So stay tuned to Bowl TV. We look forward to seeing you on the other side. Thanks again.